What's up, everybody? Good morning. We are moving right along today to the third and final position along the interior offensive line. We did the left guard, we did the center. Now we're bumping over to the right side and doing right guard. And traditionally, right guard is the least important offensive line position of the five. It's the position where if you do well at the other four positions, you can kind of take it easy. You don't have to spend a big amount of money or a big amount of resources at right guard. It's probably the least valued of the five spots. So when you're talking about the right guard spot, there should generally be an understanding that this is not the smart place to break the bank. You want to break the bank at the other spots if you need to, and right guard can kind of just be supplementary. Now, it is worth noting that in this likely Ryan Grubb offense, we're going to need offensive linemen that can play in space, offensive linemen that can move, offensive linemen that can set blocks for screens. So that is going to have to be a consideration here. We're going to need a guy who can handle those things. Ryan Grubb's offense in college football averaged like one screen every 8 attempts. So we're going to need guys who can move. I still don't think this is going to take a big investment, but as of right now, we only have one real right guard on the roster, Anthony Bradford, who I like. I'm enthusiastic about him. I'm optimistic about him, but he's the only one. And he is a fourth round pick. He is somebody who was considered to be very much a project. So there's a very real chance he doesn't pan out. And the rookie year was bumpy. There's some real promise there. There's some real talent in that guy. But who knows if it ever comes out the way we need it to. So at minimum, we're going to need depth. We're going to need a backup. We also might need a starter in front of Bradford. Bradford may not be just handed the job at this point. So we're going to take a look at some free agents here. These would be the big ticket items. These would be the guys you spend a lot of money on and you throw a significant investment at. First, the first guy we're going to look at here crosses over with a video I made a couple days ago. Kevin Dotson, because this most recent season for the Rams, he had his best season, and he played the entire season at right guard. I still look at him and I say left guard because that's what he did in Pittsburgh, and he was good at it. But you might look at Kevin Dotson and say, hey, we want that guy playing right guard. So we do need to address this briefly because he is one of the top guys available. You just have to figure out where to play him. Now, Spotrac estimates his contract at 4 years, $66 million, which is about $16.5 million a year. So if you're going to pay somebody that much money, he better be playing left guard, is what I'm going to say. Like, I am not spending $16.5 million a year on a right guard, even if he's a really good right guard. Like, he better be Zach Martin. He better be the best right guard in the league. He better be a future Hall of Famer if I'm throwing this kind of money at a right guard. So I don't know if Dotson gets up to this amount. In fact, I suspect he probably won't, but I could definitely see him getting up to like 15 million. And again, that's just too much for me if we're talking about the right guard position. So if we're looking for players we haven't discussed yet in this video series, first guy would be Robert Hunt. Robert Hunt is hitting the market. He just turned 27 last year, so he's hitting his prime. This is a really, really high-profile, high-pedigree right guard. Played almost 600 snaps last year, did get hurt, but when he played, he was really good. Played the whole season at right guard. You go back to 2022, played basically the whole season at right guard, played really well. So this guy's got an extensive history of playing quality football, and he's played most of it at the right guard position. So this is kind of the cream of the crop for me. If you are going to splurge on a right guard, I would want it to be on somebody like this. And even with a guy like this, I have my limits, right? Like, I don't think this guy is Zach Martin in his prime. I don't think this guy is some future multi-time all-pro at the right guard position. I think that he is a very good right guard, and if you gave him a long-term significant contract, you probably wouldn't regret it, but I'm also not looking to completely destroy my finances here. Spotrac estimates 4 years, $47 million, so just shy of $12 million a year. That's at least in the ballpark of what I would be willing to do. This guy's really good. I do suspect he would be a reasonable scheme fit, even though he's a bigger guy. I think he can. I think he overcomes that pretty well to play well in space. I mean, when you look at what the Dolphins are doing in terms of their screen game and the success that they have, Robert Hunt has definitely found a way to be a positive contributor in that area of football. And this is pretty close to as much as I'd be willing to spend on the position for even a really, really good right guard. But I might be amenable to something like this. I'd love to get it down to more like, 4 years, 44, so 11 million a year. But if this is the path you want to go down, I'm not against it because this guy's good. And if you got him, you would be good at the position for, I'd say, at least 3 years, maybe the full 4. So that's going to be one of the top guys. Another guy who is going to get a lot of money this offseason in all likelihood at the right guard position would be a former New England Patriot, Mike Onwenu. And this guy has actually dabbled at the right tackle position as well, which I have mixed thoughts on, right? So this guy has been a good player for New England for several years now. He was a 6th-round pick in 2020, has developed really nicely. This most recent year, he played almost the whole year at right tackle, did play almost 200 snaps at right guard, played pretty well. You go back to 2022, however, he played the whole season at right guard and played really well. And then you go back to 2021, he's playing at left guard, he's playing at right tackle, a little bit tight end, a little bit right guard. So he's kind of been all over the place. I get the sense that his true position, his best position, is right guard. But that right tackle versatility is not a bad thing, right? We kind of do have a little bit of a question mark at our right tackle spot with Lucas, and a guy like Onwenu would provide like insurance for that. You could bump him outside if Lucas goes down again. So him being able to slide out to tackle is nice. Now, I don't know if he still weighs 350 pounds, but if he does, that's a lot to ask for a guy like that to play in a Ryan Grubb offense. Like, dang, right? Especially at tackle. Even at guard, you're asking a lot. But he is about to turn 27. He's going to turn 27 late in the season, so he's entering his physical prime. So there is some upside that he's got. He could improve as a player for sure. However, what he's done at the tackle position over the last couple years seems to have boosted his value a pretty good amount. And he is actually going to be projected by Spotrac more expensive than Robert Hunt. I think because he has tackle reps now. So I'm looking at something like this, 4 years, 55, 13.6. Like, it's cheaper than Kevin Dotson, right? Like, there's no way I'm doing this for Kevin Dotson. But I just don't know if I'd be willing to do this for a guy who I'm dubious about the scheme fit, right? Like, he's really good. Okay? Like, I'd rather have him than a player that's bad, I guess. But this is too much money for a guy who I'm not sure is going to fit. And it's probably too much money in general for a right guard. Like I said, if I'm going to spend more than $12 million a year on a right guard, he better be Zach Martin. He better be a future gold jacket wearer. So I'm a little bit cold on this one, admittedly, but he is going to be one of the top guards available in this free agency class, and his flexibility is going to help him out too. So Mike Onwenu, I don't like him as much as Robert Hunt. To me, he's kind of in the same boat as Kevin Dotson. This amount of money, I can't do. And the final guy that I want to look at in this series, this one's not quite on the same level, I feel like, but he's another guy that you would get and you would feel like your position is taken care of for at least a few years. It's Graham Glasgow of the Detroit Lions. This is a guy who's starting to get up there in age. Unlike the previous guys we looked at, he's going to turn 32 before the season starts. But he's coming off one of his best seasons. He had a really strong PFF grade and played almost 1,100 snaps, almost all of them at right guard. He does offer some interior offensive line flexibility, play some center, play some left guard. You go back to previous years, the play typically wasn't quite as good, but you can see that he's moving from position to position, and that's probably affecting his play a little negatively. Obviously, the last couple years, he's been rejuvenated by being linked up with this Ben Johnson offense, but this is a right guard, and this is a guy who you would bring in to start. I imagine you would have to give him not as much as these guys, not as much as Dotson or Hunt or Onwenu. you'd probably be looking at Graham Glasgow somewhere around 9 million or 10 million a year. And based on the way he played last year, he's worth that. Now, the age is going to start to become a problem. I do think he's a pretty good scheme fit, but he's getting older, so that could change very quickly. There was a time where Gabe Jackson would have been a good scheme fit for the Shane Waldron offense, but by the time he got here, he kind of wasn't. So there is some concern there. And this is kind of like where you go if you want the lock it down, reliable, quality veteran right guard option, somebody who's going to be a high-end starter, but you don't want to break the bank completely. You just want to bend the bank a little bit. So Graham Glasgow, like I said, I imagine somewhere around 9 million a year, maybe 3-year deal that's easy out after 2. And I'd be cool with that. He would definitely take care of the position, and I would still have plenty of money left to do other things. But those are the guys that I'm currently viewing as the top guys at the position, the right guard position. So next video, we'll take a look at some guys that are more low-end starters or flyer types, or guys that you wouldn't feel quite as good about but would still probably push to start. So I'll see you guys later. Go Hawks. Let me know what you think about this crop. And, yep, we are finishing up the interior offensive line.